Trial by jury could be a thing of the past for some offences if one of the country's top judges has their way. Baroness Carr of Walton-on-the-Hill, the Lady Chief Justice, said scrutiny is required to deal with the 66,500 cases stacked up in the courts post-COVID. Her comments have drawn a strong reaction, though, with fears the move would undermine the justice system. It comes as the scandal of the single justice procedure in courts grows, with hundreds of thousands of people being prosecuted for motoring offences and not paying their TV licences without a proper court hearing. Joining me now to discuss all of this is Andrew Eborn, barrister and broadcaster. Andrew, first of all, what is single justice procedure?
Very simple.
Because we don't have it here. In the independent republic, we don't have that kind of thing.
You don't have any laws.
No laws.
No laws.
What I say is law.
I totally understand that, JJ, which is why you call me Eborn.
That's right.
Back to boarding school. What it basically is, it's to speed up the whole process. So it's like simple things, such as if you don't pay your TV licence, you get a fine for doing that. If they're minor traffic things. So the idea is for when it's that you don't have to turn up to court to defend yourself. The problem with the system is that some people are vulnerable. They might have really good reasons why they haven't done it. For example, if there's somebody with a particular disability or they're being abused at home or whatever, you've had all sorts of situations like that, which could be a plea in mitigation. And if you're not there to make the plea in mitigation, it means that you'll be convicted in any event. So the difficulty is exactly that. They're turning around and saying there are people who would otherwise maybe get off or a more lenient sentence and not being represented in court, and as a result, the penalties are too severe.
Well, as my personal legal advisor, how would you reform the system?
First thing I'll do is send an invoice to you in the post as your personal legal advisor. You haven't paid any of the other ones. No chance of that. What would I do? I mean, the basic principle is this, JJ. Justice is not just to be done, but to be seen to be done.
Yeah.
So we have horrible backlogs in courts at the moment. So the way that you can speed it up has got to be a good thing. But at the same time, the jury system, which is what you started on in your brilliant monologue at the beginning, the jury system, as your personal lawyer, I can say that. The jury system basically said it's a fundamental human right to be tried by your peers for certain things. And you have some types of cases, smaller cases can be decided by magistrates, but other cases you have a choice. You can either have it decided by a magistrate or you can go to the Crown Court. And a lot of people opt to have a trial by jury because they think you're more likely to get off.
But is that more expensive, having a trial by jury?
Well, it takes longer, and this is why there's this big backlog, because you've got to get the right jurors and so on and so forth. You have to obviously pay lawyers to do that sort of stuff.
So just scrap it then?
Well, this is what is being proposed on that sort of basis.
I support it. I agree with that. Get rid of it.
Then scrap all laws. Everybody's guilty. Just save time. Take all their assets. You can work on that basis. Well, this is a fundamental principle of law, is that you've got the right to be tried by your peers. And it goes back to zillions of years. It's one of the cornerstones of the legal system here. But in the Republic, I think you're right. Just confiscate all their assets and you're covered.
If we change the law, and we say, when we change the law and we say no more trial by jury for some cases, that's not going to really undermine the justice system, is it?
Well, people want the right to be tried by their peers. That is the fundamental point of the...
Over what? Over not paying your car fine?
Oh, no, that's different. Those would never be tried by jury. Right. So there's two separate things. One of these small cases, which is like TV licence or driving fines, where you don't have to turn up to court and they can basically just deal with it in your absence.
If I don't pay my TV licence, which I don't think we should pay it anyway, to be honest, that's a different...
Don't encourage people to commit criminal offences. As your lawyer, I advise you otherwise.
If I don't pay it, and I get summons to court, and I have to say to the court, I'd like to be tried by jury, or that's not an option?
No, that would never happen. It's not one of those offences.
What small cases are likely to have me say...
Well, it might be theft or whatever it is. It was why
do you suggest theft to me?
I'm not suggesting...
Why you picked a random crime, theft?
Well, what crimes do you want? I don't come in with a tooth-drag salesman. Pick a crime, any crime at all. You asked about it. So the small crimes is to deal with very quickly. So we have different systems. You have the magistrates' court, which tend to hear smaller crimes, and the Crown Court, which hear bigger crimes, in essence. Things like not paying a TV licence, things like driving fines are all dealt with by magistrates, and that's the procedure for speeding it up. But as I say, the difficulty, the abuse of the system, if you like, is it's not making more vulnerable people who might have a cause in mitigation where you can get a reduced sentence, those particular cases are not being heard in the right way. And this is what they're objecting to. And the separate thing is about trial by jury. And what's being suggested is that some cases could be heard just by the judges instead of trial by jury, because it would speed up the backlog.
Or by the dictator in charge.
Or by the dictator. But everybody's guilty, as you said.
That's it.
Guilty, give me all your assets.
That's
what
it.
you said.
But we have a massive backlog.
Yes, and that's the problem.
Yeah. So then how do we get through that? To me, this seems like a great idea to get through that backlog very quickly.
Well, as you know, I speak around the world as a futurist, back to the futurist, about artificial intelligence and how that can decide a lot of cases. Oh, no, it does.
I don't want robots deciding my future.
Well, but they are going to decide your future, whether you like it or not.
Well, I don't like it.
Well, I know, we're tough, because they will. And I always say that AI is our greatest human achievement, but also the biggest existential threat. And when I speak around the world advising companies about these sort of things, you have to understand what it can do. And a lot of legal systems, what they're doing, they're helping with the backlog, helping with the administration, helping decide cases, and the advantages for that, it does speed up the system.
But Eborn, all I ever hear about these days is Russia have got into this technology this way, and China are going through your data. What's to stop any of these big evil superpowers manipulating the robots and saying, yeah, these guys are all guilty, and actually these criminals and these terrorists not guilty? So, and it's sorted.
And you're absolutely right. We have to be absolutely aware of what the systems can do and be aware of the abuse. It's one of the biggest discussions at the moment. Data, as I said for years, is the new currency. The more information you give about it, if a product's free, you are the product.
Yeah.
And so when you're signing up and saying, this is one of my birthdays, here's my favourite colour, here's the name of my child who fell off a bike, all that sort of stuff, you tell them they're going to get all that information and use it. And this is why people are worried about things like TikTok. And the big debate at the moment is who is going to get this data and what can they do with that data?
Well, with robots and the juries, what would you rather? Be judged by the robots or judged by the jury?
Well, I'm not guilty of anything, so I don't need to be judged.
I'll be judge of that, mate.
Thank you. No, the reality is this, and this is what robots have got a bad rap. And I will be, I am the
Terminator.
Well, no, but that's the bad side of it. You look at things, for example, like what Elon's doing with the brain thing, where you can have implants in the brain, and you get people who've been paralyzed for years, and all of a sudden you're getting seismic advances in technology are curing that sort of side.
Yeah, that's great. What's that got to do with whether I pay my TV licence, mate?
Well, no, but you're talking about a system. You're talking about making the other thing.
And I'm saying, is it better for us to be judging crimes off robots who can be programmed and are going to have faults because they're created by man, or a jury of 12 of our peers?
Who could be programmed by man even more so, and even greater influence. No, what you need is safeguards. So the important thing is getting those guardrails in place. And actually, a robot is less likely to be manipulated than a human. And I've been in court, you've worked on that sort of basis. It's sometimes your best advocate is what decides the case. And you work on that sort of principle. AI will get rid of the impartiality. It will make sure there's consistency.
No, it won't.
Absolutely.
It's already got inbuilt biases already from man.
But this is what they're doing. They're correcting those biases. If you understand what those are, you can build in the safeguards. So you're more likely to have consistency of judgment and work on that premise.
Well, when will this happen? In my lifetime, I've got about 50 years left, I reckon, on this planet.
I reckon, yes, it won't be on this planet. You'll be on another planet in 50 years. You'll be exploring Mars.
So when do you think we're going to have robots deciding cases?
And they're already deciding it. So
where? In what banana republic?
Well, no, in China and various other places, they're speeding things up, but they are. And the efficiency being introduced right now, right here, right now, are tremendous. So we should look at that. Also, I mean, it's bizarre as well. Some of these legal cases, the trouble is lawyers are relying too much on it. And I'll give you an example. In the States, what happened? There was a case, a negligence case, about somebody who was injured by one of these trolleys on an airline. And, you know, they're coming down, peanuts for everybody, even if you're allergic. They give you peanuts. And what happened? They got banged on the knee. And the lawyer in the States, they looked up the case, they tapped into ChatGPT, give me some precedents, and they got 3 cases, which sounded brilliant. This airline against that person, all the cases were won. So they quoted it in the court. The trouble is, ChatGPT had made all the cases. Right. And the judge said to them, I'm sorry, Mr. JJ, none of these cases are true. And so the person was held to be in contempt of court and so on and so forth as a result of it. So ChatGPT and other programs, they hallucinate. This is what they called. If they don't know the answer, they will hallucinate and come up with an appropriate answer.
Right, so you said that China. I asked you the question, who's got the robots working on the case? You said China. Is there any country that's actually a democracy that
Yes,
he's using robots.
it's happening as well in the States as well. That's a democracy. Last time I checked.
That's a place where people had to carry guns and shoot alligators
But
and stuff. I'm not
I
taking
think
them
those
for
in
anything.
America would say they're a democracy. Absolutely. And I think if you look on that sort of way, but also in this country, we're bringing in efficiencies in the courtrooms as we speak to make it more efficient. So you're using AI to basically get rid of those laborious tasks to make sure you can get people trying to look quicker. So in answer to your question, how do we make it more efficient? My answer is I'm here to bring the AI into Britain. And I think AI is absolutely the solution.
I think that is a terrible idea. Eborn, get back to the cabinet room. I'll speak to you later. Right.